before, you know it's camera adjustment time. I think we got it pretty good today. Hello, Ursula. Hello, hello. Whoever's still here, you guys are popping in and out. And everything ready for you. Now it's camera adjustment time. Turn off the volume. Have to mute myself. I hope everyone's having a good day. We're heading into the weekend. That should make some people happy. Weekend's just not too much different for me, except that just kind of changes the little things here and there. My days are always the same. It's just the world around me that changes, which is sometimes nice. Get my trash can ready. Brad 46 and Jackie. I don't care what your name is. I mean, I do care what your name is, of course, but I think just having the handle of Brat is just perfect because we called our kids Brat so many times. I think that's just a perfect handle to have. Hey, Levi. Welcome, welcome. I've been sewing most of the day. I tend to do any of the administrative stuff, like finish up a video and do whatever, and then I get to sew or work in the afternoons. And Lisa and Lucy. Oh, your daughter's name is Brat today. My kids won't, not that they won't talk to me, but sometimes it's just like I don't hear from them for a few days because they're really busy working and stuff. And then 10 minutes before I go live, my daughter's like, hey, let's just talk. I'm like, hey, let's not. There we go. Now we can see the table and not me pacing. Good evening from England. Hi, Marie. That's the best thing to do. Just come and hang out with us. Hello, Deborah. Oh, welcome, welcome. Deborah's first time catching us live. That's what I do on most of the lives. I just kind of hang out and listen to the people talk and then do my own thing because I don't always have time to sit and chat with people. Sometimes I'll put it up on my tablet with my headphones on and then I'll have the chat on my phone. So every now and then if I have a minute, I can jump in or not. But most of the time I just watch. Yes, it is. I flipped it over to the dark side because we're working with purple. I learned my lesson helpful from one of you guys that don't leave it on the dark side in the morning when you have your curtain open because black attracts the sun and makes everything hotter. And that's how I got that little bit of a, it wasn't actually a bubble. It was just kind of, it warmed up the mat a little. So I keep it on the purple side all the time. And then I flip it over here for you guys. Thank you. Actually, I have a new video for these that's going to be coming out next Friday. Once again, one of the amazing viewers here showed me a video on how to do this without having to sew here and without having to use any hot glue. Yeah, Brat, you should live up to it. Yeah, you know, I always said, my grandparents told me that after the age of 50, 55, and definitely after 60, you kind of have earned the right to be a brat and do what you want within reason, of course. But I love these boards. They're great. I'm going to make a few more so I can start laying out some of my tote bag designs and stuff like that. Good morning, Audrey. I do not have this in a way that I can see anything very well. I had to turn the lights and oh, there we go. when the light hits the laptop a certain way, it makes the words go from black to more of a silvery gray, and then I can't read them. Icy, snowy Kentucky. Hello, hello. There's a lot of places that are getting some pretty nasty storms. It was 85 degrees yesterday, and I think it's right up around there again today. I have to have the AC on. It actually got that warm. I'll beat you with a wet noodle. 50 lashes with a wet noodle. And they'll just laugh and look at you. They don't get it. And really, you can't get in trouble for, like threatening your child. You're just going to beat them with a wet noodle. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, you could put all kinds of things on here. Something to protect it in between, and then put I think I'm going to try flannel on some of them too. Maybe I have to look and see. I have mostly colorful flannels. I don't know if I know I don't have anything like plain white or black, gray, red, a solid color, anything like that. So I want to see what the other side is and see if it still holds. Because to be honest, I don't want to waste my batting. I don't want to waste my batting on these boards when I can use it in projects. Oh, you hate making flying geese? Flying geese is coming up on our list eventually because we have to make flying geese. I never did care for them very much in the beginning, but it's one of those things that it's in a lot of the blocks that I enjoy, and I just had to learn how to do it. Today we're doing half square triangles, so you don't have to worry about flying geese. Today is half square triangle day for the 4 corners. 11 inches of snow. That's not too bad, really, because Maine tends to get a lot of snow. Oh, slapped with fish. Oh, this, I can't tell you. It's a total secret. This was a piece of scraps. All of these came out of my scrap bins. I'll show you what I did. I walked over. Motorcycle day. The weather's really nice, so everyone's got motorcycles. Hello, everybody. Hello. Okay, so what I did, I was just getting rid of somebody on there. Yeah, I'm trying. Okay, so I just pulled out my scraps of purple here, and I just said, oh, what kind of purples do I want? Well, I really love this sparkly, but I don't want to use it in a block, so I saved that for later. And I just flipped through and I just grabbed purple. So I couldn't tell you because absolutely nothing in here has this. Well, I shouldn't say nothing. Some have salvages, but like this has a little bit of salvage on it. But most of them don't have any salvage, and I couldn't tell you what that was from. Sorry. It's not even my fabric. Somebody sent it to me. It kind of has a look almost like, I want to say it's almost like a Joann's, but probably not. Shabby Fabrics has so many fun things to do. I'd go broke if I did all the Shabby Fabrics things that I loved. For most of these blocks, I wanted to go as scrappy as I could and use up things. Oh, well, you know what, Haley? I've been sewing and quilting for many years, and it's just in the past year or two that I've gotten to this point. So there is hope. Plus, you've got a little girl toddling around everywhere. You don't have time. But if you can get a little bit done here and there, little snippets, that eventually, maybe at the end of 6 months or a year, you might have a nice little sewing space that is nice and organized. I'm not a fabric person. I'm not the type of person that can look at it and go, oh, okay, I remember this is from this and this line, and that I got it from this store, and I ordered it, and it was part of a fat quarter bundle. No. Remember, sometimes I forget my name when I start a video, so That's how it is. Okay, so where are we at? We're at 302 now. Let's just start inviting everybody. Some people, oh, yes. Haley, if you put up a little board like this for her, maybe a little bit bigger or something, or just put a piece of flannel up against the wall or a piece of felt and give her some squares to play with. Maybe it'll keep her occupied while you're, trying to do your sewing or whatever, and then she can be sewing like mommy. I used to have to give Robbie a crochet hook and a thing of yarn, and he would sit there and crochet while I was working, even though all he was doing was holding the yarn in one hand and moving his other hand like this. He never crocheted anything, but it was so cute to watch. Yeah, I see a lot of people do it, and as the kids get older, when they hit more like the 4 years old or 5 years old, they actually let them, hello Debbie from Arkansas, hello everybody that I missed as you guys are coming in, I don't want to leave anyone out. But you can give her some fabrics or let her choose out of a certain bin. You can give her, like this is the Charlotte bin, so she can choose little pieces of fabric out of it. Let her design something and then you sew it together for her, and she can have a little blanket for a dolly, or she can have something for the side of her bed or a coaster. Kids really love that. Thanks, Lucy. I would love it if everyone gave a thumbs up. So today we are going to work on the churn dash. I did see online that you can do several variations with this, but we are going to stick with the basic. Okay, Jackie, we'll still be here. Basic churn dash. If you want, you can go on Pinterest, and you can always take the block name like log cabin and then just put the word variation after it, and Pinterest will show you all kinds of things that are amazing like that. So if you put in churn dash variations, you'll see where they can, you know what I was thinking today, I've seen them that are really cool. So this is a 4.5 inch square finished at 4. You can put a churn dash inside a churn dash. I've seen them even this small. This is a 2.5 inch square that becomes 2 inches. They put a mini churn dash inside there. Yeah, make her own placemat. Okay, I gotta bring it up closer so these old eyes can see. Casuviel. I don't want to shorten you to Cass, so I hope I did reasonably well. Either way, hello from Germany. Yeah, let her make her own little placemat, or somewhere where she can, even something, if it's large enough, she can maybe, do a little painting on it. So if she gets paint on it, it's okay. Whatever works in your family. But today I'm going to show you how to make these, but instead of making 2 fabrics, as you can see, we have total scrappy. Oh, I had a duplicate fabric. I was going to say every fabric is different, but okay, I have a duplicate, but other than that, mostly every fabric is different, even including many of the whites. And that's for our 12 and a half. And for our 6.5, I wanted to show you how simple it is to change things up a little bit. If you see these have white in the center, and our novelty colorful fabric here, our main fabric. But if we switch it up and we put our main fabric in the center, so we change out this fabric here to the froggies, then our churn dash becomes the background. This would be all white. So on this one, we're going to make all the white things on here brown, and all the frogs are going to be white. So I thought that might be fun just to see how different it is. But before we get going, we need to figure out how to cut our pieces. In yesterday's video, in this morning's video, it's been a long day. In this morning's video, and also I linked that video down below in the description box, it'll take you over to the actual tutorial where I just teach you, and it's not live. So for those of you that just want to figure out the tutorial, not listen to me rambling and stopping and saying hi to everybody, then you can check it out there. And all the links are there to different blocks and different numbers and stuff. But it's a little bit different because I showed you how to do a strip piecing or a strip set or whatever, but this time we're sewing individual pieces. So we had to figure out how to do that. I have a cheat sheet that I wrote everything down. Now by looking things up online, and if we only want to make 1/2 square triangle, We just want to make this one here out of the fabric. So we need a background fabric and a main fabric. So I have my purple and my white. By figuring out hold on, I was looking at it the wrong size. I was like, my notes said this had to be 3 inches. I'm like, that's not right. When we figure out the center square and we know that we are going to need a 4.5 inch square here, then these fabrics, let me see if I can say this right. If you want a 4.5 inch half square triangle, they say cut both of these fabrics at 4.5 inches. Now I like to cut mine larger, so let's see what I did. Yes, I cut mine at 5. When my half square triangles, I like to cut them larger. Jackie's back. I like to cut them larger so that I can trim them down, because I know me and I know my half square triangles, they tend to be a little wonky. I showed you this morning how to sew all the way around, and that makes it pretty well almost perfect, where you only need to trim off a little bit. This one is going to be almost like the snowball, where we're going to have that little extra. I didn't practice this step, so it should prove to be interesting if I get it right. But that wouldn't be anything new. We're always going to learn together. And if I mess up, just put all capitals and yell at me. And, well, I'll catch up with myself eventually. So while these boards are great, let me just take these down here. This is, I think they're 100% great if you're making a whole bunch of blocks and you just stack them up in chain piece. But just to do one block at a time, it does get in my way a little bit. And you would think that I'd have a lot of room here to put stuff, but I really don't. So I'm going to put this on top of the TV in the fall. Are those days when you think you have everything all planned out and you know exactly what to do and it's perfect? And I've never had them all planned out. If you've made half square triangles, then you know one of the things is we draw a line diagonally down the back. When you have white on white, it's hard to see. We're going to need to draw a line diagonally down the back. If we were doing 2 at a time, we would sew 1/4 inch from each side of the line. But since we are only making one block, we only need to draw one line and sew right on it. Right after I find something to write with. Because again, why would Robin be prepared? There we go. That's why we have everything right around us. Your fat cord, oh, your flying geese are wonky. We're gonna work on that, really. There are so many ways to make a flying geese, and what you do, the secret to all of my success is first you make a practice one before you use your good fabric, and 2, make everything larger and just trim it down. You can do that with almost every part of a block, and then you don't have to worry about it. So I'm going to go from corner to corner. I like to put my ruler just a thread's width outside, so when I draw my line is actually on the corner and not my ruler. That's just some little trick that I learned. Sorry if the noise is amplified. So I'm going to draw that line. Can you see it really well on there? Hello, all of our new friends that are popping in. I looked up and my computer said only one person was watching. That was just me. And then all of a sudden it popped up and had more. You might have to refresh it because my thumbs up says 26. So thank you so much. While I'm doing this, I had a little bit of thinking time this week. And there's many times throughout the day and throughout the week that I want to come on and either put a short video on like I did with the sewing machine threader, or I just want to pop in and come live for like a half an hour or something. So I think I'm going to start randomly doing that. Every now and then I'm going to pop in and just either put a quick video up of a random thing I'm working on that day instead of wait until Whip It Wednesday and showing you finished items. I'll show you me actually working on it. Or I might just pop in randomly either in the morning, noon, or in the evening just to come out and hang out with you guys for a little bit of time. because I get a little craft loneliness and I want to kind of hang out with people. So I have the wrong side of my white fabric with the line. I'm going to put it onto my square. Grab my pins. I'm going to stitch straight down this line. So I'm just going to put, I think these pins, they're really nice and flexible, but they're not, they're supposed to be super sharp, and I find that they don't really want to go through the fabric that well. Now with squares, this triangle's leftovers are going to be so large, we will do a bonus half square triangle. I probably should draw the line now and save myself some time. But I want to show you one for those of you that don't like to save that extra bit and do another one. I'll just show you how it works, and then we'll get sewing. So this way you have the knowledge of how to do it, and then we'll get sewing. From what I've learned and from what I remember, you need more rabbit in your life. I'm going to try, and you guys can always catch up later, and I'm going to try some in the morning and some later in the evening. Now, I'll confess, you guys know, I get a little bit more tongue-tied and a little bit slower as the night goes on, so these won't be like tutorials. But if you want to just hang out and chat a little bit, and if it's like 6, 7 o'clock at night, I might be a little slow, and I might need a little help remembering words even more, because at the end of the night I get tired, and hopefully I won't fall asleep. I've been on YouTube for 5 years. I started out as a knitting podcast, believe it or not, and then worked my way into this and found out that this was more of what I wanted and more of what you guys wanted. So here I am. Whoop, and there you guys go. I lost you. This YouTube channel is more about hanging out and being friends and helping people out and bouncing ideas off of each other and learning from each other, and not a structured, you have to do it my way, this is the only way. It's my favorite way, so it's the only way. I'll tell you my favorite way, but it's never the only way. Yes, chatting is fun. If you're like me, I want even more so now. Here I am alone. I live alone now. It looked a little dark here. I thought my machine went off. And I don't have anyone to talk crafting with. Rob was really good. I listened to his football and his construction, and he listened to my crafting. So we made a pretty good team like that. But now, you guys are my craft buddies. So if I want to talk crafting, I have to come online. So you can't see it very well, I know. I need to work on my live situation. Thank you. I am going to stitch straight down on this line. I am sticking with my usual 2.0, 1.8, whichever works for time. I'm using a neutral, my thread is silver. It's technically gray, but it's called silver. Now while making this block, I would just go ahead and stitch all of these, but I want to do one and show you what it looks like. I don't do the leader enders, I just stick the piece of, this actually happens to be some salvage that I cut off that was in the trash. I actually picked it out of the trash. My trash, I have only fabric items over here, and then I have a trash can over there for like paper and plastic and stuff. No food items. So I do that, but you can always do the leader ender. I'm just going to take my iron and press it on here and give it a nice setting so those threads go down after the iron warms up. When we get to actually pressing and ironing things, I'll bring it over to here. This is just regular craft, a quilted one. It's not an actual slap one. This has been on my list to make more of these in the shop for so long. I have a video for making these, but I wear my medical alert bracelet all the time, and it makes a lot of noise, and sometimes it smacks against a sewing machine, especially when I have the table on, so I like to put this on. Plus, is really a benefit, like when it's cold or my hands ache, putting it on the pressure point right here, it warms up my wrist, and it gets rid of the ache from my hands all the way up into my shoulder, so it does a really good job. I just need to make another one for here. No, I'll never do a knit along. This is definitely not a knitting or crochet channel. There are people that do that so much better. It works out better on YouTube for the algorithm if I just stick with the fabric and the scraps. I can throw a little video in here and there every now and then, but if someone comes over and catches my knitting or crochet videos that I did on request in the past, and they think that this is going to be a crochet channel, and they either subscribe and then unsubscribe, or they just leave altogether because it's not what they wanted, it actually hurts my channel. So I have to stick with just this. I mean, we could always do things and talk about it on like Whip It Wednesday and stuff, but never anything just going to be structured like that. I lost my square. Whoa. I pressed the steam button. I must have accidentally hit the water button too because water came shooting out. Now I'm going to trim this a 1/4 inch from either side of the line because we are only making one. It doesn't matter much. Let me draw my line. So what I would do is I would just cut it, but I want to draw my line first because I'm going to make the second one. I guess it wouldn't matter. I would just use 1/4 inch seam allowance then, wouldn't I? That's right. All right, so I'm going to cut a 1/4 inch off of that line. This is that bonus one because it's so much there that whatever size this turns out to be, this one's going to be pretty close to the same size, just about a 1/2 inch smaller. Hamburger stew sounds good. Then we need to press this. On my fancy pressing station. Because I'm using a white fabric, I want to press it from the dark side so that I don't have that shadowing of the fabric behind it. Do a little finger press because I already gave it a nice little press. Just kind of open it up just a little bit so that when I do this fabric, the white fabric has been pre-washed. I can kind of feel it. So whoever shared these scraps with me pre-washes their fabric and I don't. And this helps flatten out the seam a little bit. And there we go, 1/2 square triangle. Now we just need to trim it. Oh, gosh, how can you lose everything? I'm like the kids or the husband that takes their socks off there and their jacket off there, maybe their shirt over there, and they just leave a trail and you can figure out where they went. You can figure out where I've been by the trail of tools I leave behind. So right now, this measures 4 7/8. You'll notice in a lot of your patterns, they'll say, okay, cut your fabrics at 4 7/8 and, you know, make your 1/2 square triangle. You don't have to deal with the 7/8 if you don't want to. Bump it up to 5, a full size up, whatever it is. So if it's 3 7/8, 4 7/8, go up to the whole number, and then just trim that little bit off. That little smidgen that you're going to be, what do you trim off, 1/8 of an inch? That much fabric is easy to go ahead and consider a scrap and waste and lose that amount. I don't feel like I'm wasting fabric by doing that. Now, since we're doing the 12.5 inch block, we know each of our components needs to be 4.5 inches. So I need to trim this down to 4.5 inches. I have a video for that, but I'll give you guys a quick rundown. I have my seam right here. I have my 45-degree angle. I hope it's a 45 because I say that enough. And I want to make sure my 45 is right on there. And I want to look around. I have extra fabric coming out this side, but I want to make sure that I can see the 4.5 line is on fabric everywhere. So if I don't want to have anything crooked, I don't want to have it down here. I want to trim off a smidge in my first cut. And by lining it up here, and when we trim it, it's going to guarantee that we're going to have 2 of those fabrics in the point. And that's what you really want to do. So you want to make sure your seam has been sewn straight and you didn't press it in any weird way. So when I trim this off, just that little bit. I grab that corner from where I trimmed it and I spin it around. So I had the purple on one side, now it's on the other. Again, I'm going to line it up on the 45, but down here, I'm going to find my block measurement, which is 4.5 inches. And I'm going to make sure it's right there under the line. My diagonal is lined up. And then when I trim this excess off, and some people like to put a finger or two off or something. I can never hold my ruler when I do that. So I have all my fingers, and you might be able to see it's changing colors because I hold it down pretty tight. Trim off one and trim off another. And see, I wasted fabric by making a larger size, and that's all I have to throw away. And when we come up here, I have both colors in a corner and both colors in a corner. And it measures a perfect 4.5 inches. Therefore, in my mind, that is a perfect half square triangle. Voila, done. All right, we have these, so I'm gonna hold off on these for just a minute because we did this, and then we'll sew everything all at once so that we can go ahead and learn all about the components. I have my square in the center. It's a white square, 4.5 inches, done. We know that. I've been repeating the quilting rule in my head, so I'm going to try to say it to you guys all the time until it doesn't sound like a whole bunch. See, we can't get turnips here. We only have rutabagas. I love rutabagas. They're so hard to do and everything, and I really love butternut squash, and it's so close to me that I just go with the butternut squash. Okay. To figure out your blocks and your seam allowances, I've learned it. It's been told to me many times over the years, and it's just clicking. This is a 12.5 inch block. We know it's a 9 patch. To figure out what our center square is, we have to divide by 3. 4, 8, 12. You always take that 1/2 inch seam allowance like I showed you in the other video. Just ignore it for a minute. Delete it off the page. 12 inches is your finished size. 4, 8, 12. And then to know how to cut this, you just bring that seam allowance back in. I always tried to add that little 1/4 inch minus a quarter, add a quarter, 1/4 inch over there. It's so confusing to me. But to think of it that way, divide by 3 and add that 1/2 inch back on. Just makes it so simple to me. Oh no, Sue. You shat? Oh no. I'm so sorry. Sue, I know it's important, for you. You wanted to join in on us. I'm so sorry. We'll have a moment of silence for Sue's iPad. Because if you're talking a real iPad and not just a tablet, I am so sorry. Oh, Helly, yep. I've had to dissect everything and go super slow and evaluate and really be like a professor looking at something and a scientist and saying exactly, all right, this is supposed to be 4.5 inches. Let me double check. Is it 4.5? Okay. So these two, when sewn together, they have to be 4.5 inches. I have my little cheat sheet here. So if this is going to be 4.5 inches, this has to be 4.5 inches. So if we, again, just ignore that half. This is going to be finished in our block. Let me find my block. Our block right here, this is a 4-inch square. So what two pieces do we sew together to get a 4-inch square? Sesame Street taught us 2 + 2 is 4, so we're good there. It sounded like Sesame Street while I was saying it. What do we do? So these two pieces need to be 2 inches, but we have to have that seam allowance. So this one is 2.5, and this one is 2.5. When sewn together, it'll give us a raw 4.5 inch square. So I cut all of my fabrics. I have 4 of the white rectangles at 2.5, and then my 4 purples at 2.5. So these just have to go together like this and sewn down here. I'm just going to do it off the corner here without you guys looking for a second, if you don't mind. And then I will, there's always lots of buttons. So just make sure your fabric is lined up really well and that you got your nice 1/4 inch. So I need to make sure I can see some purple. So I'm just going to scoot it up, because sometimes even that little bit of one thread of color might just put you off, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. So if each one is off just a little bit, it's going to add up. Come on, let go of my piece. So there's my piece all stitched. Go nowhere. When I set my seam, to save myself some time and movement, I know I'm going to press it to the dark side. So what side I'm going to press it to, I want that side up. Yes, it does. It keeps our brains thinking right, and it keeps it, I mean, we have the creative part, no problem. We just need to make sure we have that little bit of math. I don't have time for crossword puzzles. It's a puzzle all by itself. So I put my little fingers in here. And I'm not going to do a giant finger press. I just like to say, hey, if you go over this way, everybody lay straight. That's the way I want you to go. Then I'll gently put my iron on, and then I'll mash it. Because let's face it. Hello, Devi, how are you doing? I hope everything is going well at your end world. And the clapper is really fun too, because it allows me to really add some more of that mashing that I like to do. And then, you know, this has to be 4.5 inches, so we can stop here. Did I get it right? I can see no fabric here, I can feel no fabric, and I'm right at the 4.5 inch mark. If I made this piece and this one was wrong, there's no sense in sewing it into the block, because the block's going to be wrong. So if you stop and check every single component and make sure as you're cutting it, it's correct. As you're putting it in here, it's correct. Because if you're like me, you do a lot of long, with your 6x24 ruler, and you're cutting long lengths of fabric, that ruler, no matter how many weights I put on it, how much I hold it down, that ruler moves on me every time. So I do a half, and I scoot up and move my weight, and I double check and make sure everything's good, and then I finish it off. Because in the old days, I could just go like that, no problem, but I just don't have that strength anymore. So double check every component. And it's, you don't have to do it all the time. You just have to do it until you find your weakness. My weakness is cutting, so I know that I need to, I have to look at one to see where it goes. I need to make sure that when I cut my pieces that everything is good. That's my weak spot. If your weak spot is pressing, because I had that problem, I fixed that problem for the most part. And sewing, in the beginning I had a problem, you know when you're sewing and then all of a sudden you like sew off the end of the fabric? I had that problem, so I had to work on that. And it's just like anything else in life, we just need to practice what we're doing. I'm going to stay there, to make sure we're getting it right. I mean, when you started driving a car, if you drive, or when you started baking or cooking dinners, you didn't get it right the first time all the time. I mean, you may be really good, but I burnt and made some nasty food. Rob and I ate a lot of macaroni and cheese or frozen pizza in the beginning. Thought I only needed gutters and fascia boards. Put more 2022 surprises. I have such a long list of things that need to be done on the house. I don't even want to think about it today. I'm sorry, but at least in the end, you're going to have a nice, safe roof, and everything is going to be good. And when the wind starts blowing and the storms start coming through, you will only worry a little bit, and you won't worry as much as you probably did before. Because I know mine, I need my soffits, my J channels, all of that stuff needs to be replaced, and I can hear it just rattling when the wind blows. Alrighty, so before we, who moved that chair? Before we get going on these, I want to draw that second line so that I can cut so I can sew that second half square triangle. I already have this one here. Let me put a pin in this guy so he doesn't get messed up. These you might be able to use in next, now you could always trim these down much smaller and use them in 6.5 inch block. So I am going to go a 1/2 inch from here. I have to draw it. I don't like a really narrow seam allowance, and I have a terrible eye for judging this type of a distance. So when I'm sewing, I need that line. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't feel like, oh, I'm a terrible quilter, I can't eyeball it. I eyeball so much already. I allow myself this line. It's okay. So we have this I need to sew. And we have these I need to sew. So there's 1, 2. That one's already sewn, Robin. Do you ever call yourself the full name, like when you do something silly like that? I call myself Robin Suzanne all the time. That's my middle name, by the way. So when I do something that's goofy and wrong and I should have been paying attention and known better, I'm like, oh, Robin Suzanne, you know better. Sue, if you want, let me know, send me a message. I will send you a link to the Amazon one that I just bought, and maybe you can find it somewhere either on Amazon or off Amazon, because I didn't pay too much. I still think I paid a little $100, but Sue, isn't your tablet new? Isn't your iPad new? You can always see about getting a new screen put on. That would be a lot cheaper than getting a new iPad. First name and last name? Yeah, I grew up with the, well, my father called me RS for Robin Suzanne. So it started out as if you were in a little bit of trouble, then it just became a term of endearment. And I heard Robin Suzanne a lot. If you didn't answer, if he called Robin and I didn't say coming, don't you dare say yes or what. You better say, I'm coming, because you had seconds to get there. And if you didn't, you heard Robin Suzanne. And if you heard your last name, you better just pack up and move out, because you were in a lot of trouble. So I'm going to continue sewing these and make a lot of noise. Let's face facts, I probably will still keep talking because I can't help myself. Oh, it's 2 years old now? Okay. We'll see if I remember. I know. Because if you're just doing things like I am, and I just watch videos on it, and now I'm playing that solitaire game, it works fine. It's like a phone almost. It's so fancy, all the little swiping and the Googles and the screens and stuff. I like Samsung. I can't afford iPad stuff. And even if I could afford it, I would, for what I'm doing, just watching videos, having something that costs $500 or $1,000 is just crazy. I personally can't do it because I know how clumsy I am. And if you give me something that's $25, $50, that's going to last me forever. You give me something that's really valuable at $1,000, I'll break it in a week. I tend to get overcautious, and then I end up doing something dumb. Like tripping over my own feet when I'm walking. Lining up the fabric. You just get it lined up, you move your hands, and the fabric sticks to you. I think chain piecing is one of the greatest things. So this one, I'm going to sew straight down the middle, and that's the one I need with the pin in it. My needle's off to the side. That's making me crazy. Then I'll sew straight. Oh, I've got one more. Oh, well. Oh, by the way, I do talk to myself when I'm sewing and alone. I'm sure you guys do too. Somebody's leaving comments. Thank you for the comment. Yeah, I mean, sometimes they're just so expensive. Yes, chain peas and crumbs is just fun. Since I've started doing so many of those bunting banner things, I've been only saving fabric. It's 1.25 inches or more, and then the other scraps that are a little smaller, they go into my note card container. And then that way I figure when I get bored, I can just sit there and piece those. Since I use them so much now. I know it's only the beginning of February, but I've kind of been enjoying doing the color of the month and working on projects that go with the month. All right. I was really, well, I was and wasn't surprised how many people have problems with their automatic threader on various machines. They just don't make it easy, do they? I can't tell which is, okay, that's the right side. Did you know that trick? If you can't tell white on white, if you fold it over and then you can look at the two sides next to each other, and that helps me decide. Like I can see this is the back and this is the front just by having that little trick. Hi, Joan. Welcome, welcome. I know I'm really enjoying, again, it's only February, but I'm really enjoying doing these blocks too, and knowing that every live stream, what it's going to be, and I don't have to come up with something creative or anything. All right, so this one is done. This one. Okay, these need to be sewn. Whoa, come on. There you go. These need to be sewn a second time. I wish I could just program a sewing machine that you press a button and it automatically goes to, this is the button I use for half square triangles. This is the button I use for the 1/4 inch seam, blah, blah, blah. That's a good idea too, Helly. I just never have enough light. Since I put the new air conditioning unit in, it's a little bit better. Knock on wood. Sorry if that was too loud. But I used to have the house really, really dark like a cave. So I had to rely on all the lights around me, and lights aren't always that great. Brother changed the threaders on their basic machines. That one with the pull down on the side never failed to thread. Oh, really? You know what? It's really funny is I haven't used it in forever because I struggled with it so much. I had the request for the video, and I've been using it probably every other time now when I remember, and it's been working no problem. I don't know what it was in the beginning. I just couldn't get it to work. Now all of a sudden it does. Will it still work next month for me? It's not the machine all the time. I think it really has to do with, you know, how you do it and stuff like that. Now this churn dash block, I tell you, this has always been a favorite of mine. I really love it. You can do so many things with it and change up your colors or your fabrics, and it makes so many nice quilts and pillows, different size blocks. You can even have one quilt and make all your blocks a different size. All right. Do you guys sit down when you press or stand up? I cannot do things sitting down. I really, to be like, first of all, I'm like just almost, I'm just a little bit higher than I should be. I can feel my shoulders going up when I put my hands on the table. This really wouldn't be ergonomical for me, but I like to be able to look down on things. I don't look down on people. I just want to look down on the world and see what's going on. Okay. So we're going to have to trim up our half square triangles, and we're going to have to sew our thingies. And then I want to just kind of, well, I wanted to get to that 6.5 inch block. It's only 20 minutes to 4, so we should be okay. Set your seams so that the threads, if before you do this, just feel your threads. Like when I touch them right now, I can feel my threads. But after I put them underneath and give them a little bit of a press, it becomes smooth. Yes, I can feel the thread, but it's not a lump anymore. It's become so much smoother than it was to start with. So it really makes a difference. If you don't do this first, those threads are going to take up space. Plus, see how a little bit wonky and wobbly mine was? My tension's probably a little bit off, of course. I am terrible with tension. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I know they say if it's this, then it's that, and all of that, and I never get it. I'm very slow sometimes in figuring out things. It's like it has to be said to me in a certain way for my brain to go, oh yeah. Your Juki is quite touchy. Sit the iron, stand the cut. I've seen people cut sitting down. It's crazy. Oh, wow. Wait, Sue, no, I'm sorry, Sue had a good idea. White on white print fabrics under the edge of my table in the shade to see the right side. Oh, interesting. Helly puts hers in the light and Sue puts hers in the shade. On my lap in the shade, too, another shade. One of these blocks I sewed the fabric on backwards and I didn't change it. My Juki is pretty good on the threader. It doesn't catch every time, but it'll catch the second time. So like 1 out of 12 times I might have to do it twice. See, if I push this too much, this is going to make my block twist, so I need to be careful. Yes, many times when I use this, I do the clap on, clap off commercial. This fabric always looks like it's the wrong way. That's twice I've double checked it. Clap on, clap off. The clapper. I made 2 this morning, 3-inch squares. First time I made them. Yeah, I really love them. And there's a, hold on, I saved it. Let me. Oh, shoe fly. I love the shoe fly one too. All right, so here are these. Oop, move the iron so I don't burn myself. I need this. Okay, so we have to stop and think too. We don't want to just go crazy here because that's when I get in trouble. This one's the bonus, so we leave that over there. I need the bigger piece, so I need to make sure when I cut between these two that this piece is my bonus. This I keep. Keep the bigger, save to the side the little one. So always turn it in the same direction. I'm very big on repetitiveness, that if I do it one way, I do it the same way over and over again. When I trim my half square triangles, I have a specific way that I do them. Because if I change things up, that's when I mess up. Every time. I couldn't figure out what I needed. I need my iron. My iron. You have a 1-button auto threader? That's fancy. You know, you get what you pay for too. I only spent $100 or something on this one, so it's not a lot. I really love it. It's not the best for quilting, but it does get the job done. If you're working on a small project, I definitely wouldn't want to quilt like my daughter's quilt on it. I like them I don't want to sew them, but I like them when they put them on point. And they do like the different blocks and stuff like that. I really like it. I've decided that I'm going to be a tote bag and a mini quilt person. I can make all the quilts in the world, but if no one buys them from my Etsy shop, then I'm wasting my fabric, time, and money. And really, let's face it, we all know quilts are quite expensive to make, even if you only charge for your materials, for like a friend or something like that. But So I think I'm just going to stick with things, the small projects like table toppers and table runners and things like that, so I can have fun making those quilt designs but not have to make an entire quilt. So these need to be trimmed. Let me go ahead, since I'm right here. Now I already pressed the thread, so I'm good. The seam. We'll just say words out loud until they all make sense. I have learned that my cats, while they do enjoy me talking to myself to a certain point, and they don't mind, like, if I sing the 80s music, they don't like rock and roll. Hi, Rose, you made it. We're still here babbling on about stuff. We're just finishing up the components of the 12.5-inch block. I think we're going to have one of those days where we are just going to keep sewing. And then what happens, happens. Oh, that's nice. I think as we get older, it's nice to have. My sister has that brother machine that she never knew how. Oh, excellent. Thank you, Terry. Yeah, I thought it would be great. I mean, I could have just, answered in an email and give the person, our viewer, how to do it and stuff like that. But I thought maybe some of you guys might want. We have a troll. If someone can grab them, please. I thought, it would be beneficial for possibly other people and maybe in the future. And totally selfish, I thought maybe, it could bring some more people into the channel if they're searching for that. Thank you. Thank you, Jackie. I have to treat this as a business and I have to think of it that way. So, okay, so these are my bonus ones. I don't want to get them mixed up. But again, we can make anything we want with these. I really like this look. Super, super simple. I like a whole bunch lined up like this. Whether it's a whole bunch of different colors or you do it in 4-patch color blocks like that, I really enjoy that look. Thank you, Sue. Big thank you to the moderators for catching all these trolls. So you can pile these up, you can save them. You just have to trim off the dog ears. If you want, you can trim them up now, like mine is. These are all 4 1/8, so I would probably, if I was that type of person to be saving all these for a specific project, which I probably should, I would want to trim them now. It's easy to trim 4 now and stick them in a stack, and maybe, put them in a 4-inch bin or a 3.5-inch bin, than to just stick them in a container and say, well, I'll cut them all later. Because later, you're going to have to cut 500 of them. Janet, you made it too. Sue D, I'm new to quilting, so all these blocks are new to me. It's fun to learn new blocks. See, again, I always put the dark fabric to the left because I find cutting the first one with that lump to the left of the seam just makes it easier for me. So I can slide down here and look, and if I could get away, excuse me, I'm drinking ginger ale. If it was perfectly even, I could just go ahead and trim these 2 sides, but it's not, so I will trim properly and not try to take shortcuts. Spinny mats are really great for this, or you can do like I do usually. My spinny mat is very expensive. I won it on a giveaway on a blog, but I don't like it. So if you have a smaller mat, you can put it on like this. Let me line everything back up again. So I got one more thing. So then you can put it. A darn person moved that chair again. I never move the chair as much as I do on the live streams. And then you take your mat, and look, Dollar Tree, I paid a whole $1 for this spinny mat. When I won mine, it was like a $40 mat. I don't know what they are now, but I'm like, that's just crazy. There's so many other things in the world that I'd rather spend $40 on than a mat that you don't know if you're going to. That's where I get stuck with tools. I don't know if I'm going to like them until I get them. So to spend all that money, it hurts sometimes to spend money. When you buy something and then you don't like it. You bought a block. I see the block lock ruler a lot when I was watching the different blogs and stuff. Are you swapping, Devi? Are you swapping with Lisa Capon? Were you doing that swap? Hello, Agnes. It is really hard, and when you swap with people too, you have to be prepared to not get a perfect block and return. All of yours might be amazing, but you have to remember too that other people are brand new to it, to either the block or to quilting. And even people who have been sewing for a long time, Helly makes beautiful things, but she struggles with certain blocks. Other people, like you said, you know, Brad has a problem with the flying geese. I have a hard enough time making a 9 patch. You kidding me? It's the simple things that throw me. So we all have our little issues with them. So you just have to be prepared to not get something that's perfect. I've been watching them every now and then on Facebook. I find myself hanging out on Facebook a little bit more than I used to. Oh, look, I've got a mat that I can spin. I still spun the block. But I've been loving watching the different rug groups that I'm in that are braids and twining and weaving, and then the scrap and the creative crew. Just been enjoying watching through those a little bit at night and stuff. Too tired to knit, so I just kind of play. So there we go. And then this, you know, when you have that scraper for when you're in the kitchen, I don't want to do it now because it makes a lot of noise. You can just take your little mat. Some people take the ruler. I don't like to do that, but you can take your mat and just scrape it. Okay, let's bring in our board of wonderness. Here we go. The new ones I've seen, or the newer ones, that round one, like an actual Lazy Susan, that's really great. But mine, now mine's a, let me see, it's a really quality mat itself. It's an Olfa, so it's a very quality mat. But all it is maybe I need to use it more, but it's just this little plastic on the back with a circle, and it just doesn't spin like I want it to. And I know it's more of a me hang up than the mat, and that's whoops, that's okay. There's a reason there's so many different types and brands. I love the purples too. So then we just line everything up. There, put that guy there. Now just have to be really careful where you put your purples, your half square triangles. So you have to remember you put your color in. So if this square was purple, then we could just spin all of these and have that. So here we are. This is all lined up and ready to go. This guy's not pressed very well. I don't think he got clappered enough. So there we are. So now you have so many different ways that you can sew this together. I always do the center over, but if you prefer doing, I can never see the other ways. If you prefer sewing them together in a different way, that works too. I love my purples. I do a lot of purples, so I thought, you know what, I don't care. I'm doing another purple. I don't have a lot of orange or yellow scraps, but my purple bin was overflowing a little bit, so I thought, why not? And then I did the brown ones too, because I very seldom work with brown, so I thought maybe I'll work with brown. Oh, the Fiskars. Is that a round one? Is there a Sue Daly one or something that's round that spins really good? Is she the one that does the English paper piecing all the time? So I guess you're supposed to have this next to you so you don't make mistakes. Excuse my head. All right. Set the machine back to 1/4 inch. I do like my Juki because it's just one button for the 1/4 inch, but I brought the brother over because moving the Juki all the time was just too heavy. Oh, the Martelli. Martelli has a lot of nice stuff, Janet. Martelli, in my opinion, is like the cream of the crop on some things. They have some really nice cutting mats and some nice rulers and stuff like that. So we don't have anything to line up here. We're just going to lay it down and make sure our edge lines up and that everyone is lined up nice and neat. Yeah, that's why I want to spin like crazy. And you can get like a Lazy Susan. They even have those cheap plastic ones at the Dollar Tree that would still work pretty good. And you can just put a cutting mat on it. Maybe put some double stick tape underneath it or something, and off you go. I'm always trying to figure out something to use. My grandparents raised me that to use what you have in the house instead of going to buy new. So let's say that spinning mat costs $50, just a round number. If I go to the Dollar Tree and I spend $1 on their little rotating mat, and I take one of my many cutting boards that I can use on it, or even that little small one, which of course is too small, but you know what I mean. So if I spent $5 making my own, Grandma always told me to take the $45, the difference, because if you would have spent $50, but you only spent $5, so you take that $45 and put it in savings like it doesn't exist. That's the way you build your savings account and stuff like that. I tried, Grandma, I'm sorry. You have to have a lot of money coming in to be able to do that. I just use what I have, and then I don't have to do without. Well, 13 inches square, I have that space here because my cutting mat, this cutting mat is 36 inches, but I know I have at least 24 inches. That works out good for me on this table. I really love having this. I waited a while. I looked for used tables, and used tables were like $300-400, but I found this one on Walmart, Better Homes and Garden. It was discounted because I guess it was going out of style, and you buy it without the chairs and you save some money that way. So I really love having this kitchen table. Yeah, don't spend if you can just figure it out for what you have. Yes, I heard like Australia, it's really hard to get things in Australia, and even fabric is so expensive. My first quilt was made out of the kids' and mine and Rob's clothes that were either stained, ripped holes, outgrown. And I didn't know anything about batting. It was my first quilt. I learned it from Simply Quilts. I took an old CD case that is not quite square, to find out, and I traced around all of it on the clothes and cut them all out by hand with scissors, sewed them together on an old Singer that I'd had for several years. And because I didn't understand batting, I went to the thrift store, and for $1, I got those mattress protector toppers. That's kind of the polyester, not the foam stuff we see nowadays, but the olden stuff from like the 2000s. And I used that as the batting in between, sewed it all together, and I had a quilt. I didn't even have binding. I did that turn and flip pillowcase thing. And then you can decide, because I learned real quick not to buy a bunch of tools. For a craft until you know it's something you're going to enjoy and actually do. Because starting up with different crafts can get pretty expensive. And even though you've been sewing for a while and quilting for a while, adding in the new fun stuff gets really expensive. I mean, how many rulers do some of you have that they were like the thing? Like everyone was showing them on blogs or something. And because I remember that, and where people were just buying stuff, and then it was like, what are we going to do with these rulers? I have a few that I picked up at thrift stores, a couple that were sent to me. Like we're going to do that pineapple one that's on the list for this year. I have a couple rulers I want to show you guys different things, like see if we can use them the way they were intended, and then see if we can find new ways to use them. So we can take some of our old tools out of the closet, off the back shelf, and repurpose them and use them again. It worked. We still had the quilt. The clothing on the front wore out before the quilt did. So when I look at this, I have the options of, let me put these all back together. I can do the whole left, right, whatever like that. I found that if I always press to the bar, that my seams will always nest. Plus, it stops me from having all of this extra trying to push that over. So I'm just gonna take, see, motorcycles. I was laughing today, 11:05, not that I should laugh, but 11:05 and an ambulance went by again. It was crazy. I'm like, whoa. And I was really concerned. I did a little prayer for the people because that ambulance was going pretty quick. It just shows how populated we are, and I don't know if they've changed and they have another ambulance area that's close here. I know we don't have a fire department, but they might have. It just might be that they moved their ambulances somewhere, and now they're closer to me, and that's why I hear them go off so much. Yeah, I mean, I wish cotton sheets are a little hard. Well, I mean, to buy them at the store, they're fine, but thrift stores here, I'm having a hard time finding cotton sheets because I want to start using them for my twining. I have to learn all the words, but the one that goes up and down, the warp, the weft, one or the other. Again, I need to learn terminology, but it's a lot easier and inexpensive to use sheets for that than it is to do other things, to like buy a whole bunch of white fabric. But I can't find them at the thrift stores. Okay, so now this block, you see how I just kind of mix things up and everything because it's a simple block that I can easily put back together. Uh-oh. I show you these little things. I get comments all the time, stop showing mistakes, but I think it's helpful. Where are you? I can see right here that this dark purple's sticking out a little, and I think what it was is I can see the little like wrinkly bits here. So at the end, this one didn't, it got pulled in and it didn't stay there. So that could become an issue, but once again, we'll survive. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, I like our doors. I have an Amazon order coming. Hello, Memoka. Did the Amazon man come? Oh. I have a neighbor that slams their door. It always sounds like there's someone here. Yeah, maybe they did it, or with, like you said, the whole masks thing or something like that. Maybe that's where they all are or something. I don't know. So there I go. I make sure everything's going to be good still, and I need to put my third piece on, so slide everybody over. If you need to use pins, if this is your thing where sewing it is your problem, then go ahead and use your pins. I highly suggest that if you've got little kids around, or you've got spouses or grandkids or whatever, if you're working on and you want to perfect it, lock yourself in a room and tell everyone to go away. Oh, poly. Well, it depends on how much poly's in it, I guess. You can still use it for some things. You can always use it for the back of your quilt. If you're working on trying to figure out what's going on with your blocks and why they're not right, it's best to not have any videos on, not have any music or audiobooks, not have everyone knocking on the door and asking what's for dinner, or can you find my left shoe? I lost it somewhere. It's best to do this on your own where it's nice and quiet so you can concentrate and take each step and figure it out. Because if you check one step and then you go and you have to make dinner, and then your husband wants to know where the remote batteries are, you have to go take care of that. The dog has to go out, the cat wants to be fed. You know how it is. Scrub suits from sheets donated by neighbors during the first lockdown. Yeah. My neighborhood, I don't live in why am I whispering? There's nobody here, nobody can hear me. But I don't live in a friendly neighborhood. It's not an evil neighborhood by no means, but people they're not friendly. We had some neighbors living next to us, and they were reasonably friendly, and the ladies down the road are really friendly, not even reasonably, they're very sweet, but they're getting older, and they're having, ailments here and there, and arthritis, you know, stuff like that as you get into your late 60s, 70s and stuff. Sometimes it just happens. And then everyone else is like moved out of the neighborhood. We've got new people in, and they're building all kinds of new houses. But people just, they're just closed up in their house. A couple of people walk around. I'll talk to them a little bit if I'm outside watering or working in the yard. But most people are just, you talk to them and they just kind of put their head down and walk faster to get away from you. Thank you, Brett. Yeah, no, I won't. So I just try to, okay, there's two things I do. I want to answer every question now so that if you're sewing at 3 a.m. and I'm sound asleep and you have a question and you need it answered now, I'm not going to answer it. Sometimes I don't get to my comments for a whole week, and I don't want to leave anyone hanging. So I try to read through, answer quick ones or questions so that no one's waiting. Plus, I also don't want to have to spend all my time answering comments when I could be making videos and sewing things for you and for the shop. So I try to make sure that I answer. That's why I talk a lot too, plus I like to talk. I love to talk crafting. That if I give you every little tidbit, you won't have a question. You won't have to wait for me. I won't have to feel overwhelmed because there's so much that I have to do. Hi, Jennifer. Yeah, I think it's really important to do trial runs for blocks. I learned that the hard way. I had to go buy more fabric. I had to sit down and basically have a pity party because I didn't have any more fabric. There was no more at the store. You couldn't buy it online back then. And I was just out of luck. And I've gotten most of you that had a little bit of a hiccup. It's okay to make mistakes because just because a lot of the shows on YouTube, they do the quick videos. Sometimes they talk, sometimes they don't. But they do like a 7-minute video and they show you an entire tutorial. I do the same tutorial and it's like 35, 40 minutes long because they're just like boom, 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 boom. But I want to show you what happens because I make enough mistakes that I can say, hey, this is what. I don't make mistakes on purpose. Trust me. I just tell you this, you know, this can happen because look, I did it. So what are you going to do? When I made those mistakes, I was like, oh no, do I have to throw it away? Is the block no good now? Can I still use it? What can I do with this? I'll tell you what you can do. Ignore it. A lot of times, you have to look at your mistakes. Like, can you stand if that block is wrong? If it's in a quilt and you got a fabric sewn on backwards instead of like you flipped it over to the wrong side, can you handle it, or are you going to see that every time you look at a quilt? Sometimes I fix it, sometimes I don't. It all depends on how I feel. Sheets, shower, curtains, clothes, yes, everything. Yeah. Nobody knows. Nobody knows that that was a shirt from when I was in high school. Nobody knows that I picked that up at Goodwill. Nobody knows that those were brand new boxers I bought for one of the boys who decided they didn't want to ever wear them and they're brand new, so now the boxers are now part of a quilt. Nobody needs to know. It's all good fabric. Especially if you're keeping it. Now, I probably wouldn't use my husband's old boxers and put it in a quilt and sell it unless it's specifically these are all, you know, thrifted items or something. But if you're making it for yourself or for the dog or for the cat, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's fix it or get rid of it. You know, what can you deal with? There we go. Just pay attention to. I got myself confused when I was doing the tutorial because I kept putting it this way when I was sewing the rows. You just spin it around. A 12.5 inch by 12.5 inch block, especially this one, can go in any direction. So now we just need to put these together. I watched a very interesting video the other day. It said when you are doing these long seams, let's say I was doing a seam that was this long. You know how we normally start here and start pinning? And then we pin and we pin and we pin. And sometimes when you get to the end, it's off by just like 1/4 inch. She said you should always start pinning in the center and work your way out. So that way you're dispersing the fabric evenly as you go from the center outwards. I thought that was really smart. I only have 2 seams to pin. And if I pin through the seam on the right and I bring the pin out on the left, I'm going to catch both parts of the block. Rub my fingers to make sure everything's nested nicely. So there's one. I can't do another, there's only one. Hello everybody, it's popping in. I see Beverly. Hello, everyone saying hello, hello. All right. Yeah, it feels so good. The sewing channel, the sewing room, the sewing something or another. It was a person maybe my age or a little older. Oh, maybe blonde. And I'm just gonna make sure that my end starts properly, so those are all together. I had a pair of scissors underneath the sewing machine. That was a little scary. Didn't even notice. And when I'm sewing, I'm not pulling on the fabric. I'm letting the feed dogs take it. I'm watching my seams. And then when I get here, I'm not sewing over the pins because you will shoot your eye out eventually. It may take 20 years or it might be the next one you do. Now this little purple is the one that had that little dig into it, little piece that looked like it was short. It's going to be in the seam allowance, so I'm not going to worry about it. Check this one. Just double checking to make sure it's all down. And once I get past that last seam, I will realign everything here, make sure the ends are aligned, and I'm going to hold on to that for dear life. Not pulling on it, just keeping these two pieces together. And if you have a stiletto or an awl or a knitting needle, you can help guide it through at the end. I just go slow when I'm paying attention. When I'm not paying attention, I get crooked seams. Goodbye, machine. Now you could sew the other piece on right now and then press them all, but I am really terrible at that. I say it all the time. Amazon, I was looking at the refurbished on Amazon and they say all kinds of good things and how they're guaranteed and they're warranted and stuff, and I'm not really happy with them. And you know, if you have an issue with your iPhone and you send it back to Apple, they send you a refurbished one. They don't like fix your phone. They just give you someone else's phone that they fixed. I don't like that. I get it and I understand it. I just don't like it. So I'm going to press it to this side because this has the least amount of seams. Just kind of get it going over. You can press your seams open if that's what you do. The sewing room channel, that might be it. Yeah, you know what I decided? I have an Amazon credit card, so I got one and I put it on monthly payments so I didn't have to pay it all at once. That way I could pretend like it wasn't as expensive. But compared to what I was looking at, if I spent $129, $149, I thought, okay, it's a 2020 or 2021 tablet. So I'm like, okay. So then we line it all up. I had to decide, and I'm almost counting it as a business expense because I use it when I'm working and stuff. I cannot do what I do without having entertainment. Someone has to keep me company. So I can listen to audiobooks on it, I can listen to music, I can listen to videos, I can learn on it by watching YouTube videos. And even if it's not like a taxable business expense, I'm considering it one as a personal business expense because to be able to do it, I need it. Oh, bought a used one? Yeah. Like I was looking at Chromebooks and computers and stuff. I didn't like those to be used because it really was, there were certain things that they didn't include that I felt I needed. So I would prefer to have one of those brand new. But if it's just a tablet and all I'm doing is watching something, then I saw some for, you know, the $44 range. And then they have those fire ones, but I didn't think that was, it didn't seem like it was going to do what I wanted it to do. I did a lot of research reading what tablet is the best for watching videos and blah, blah, blah. And then I just did what I wanted anyway. Yeah, it's nice when you have a son that can do it. I consider educational. I'm taking classes that are going towards my profession, so yeah. I can do my Etsy stuff on there. I can't print out shipping. I could probably print out shipping labels, I just don't know how. But I can check my shop. I have to be careful I don't push it too far and just push it right off the table. I didn't almost do it the other day, but I had the fear that I was going to almost do it the other day. Look, we're done. The jibber jabber and everything, and it took us about an hour. And if you were doing this on your own, including choosing the fabric, you'd probably do it a lot faster. You know, jibber jabber. And sometimes I press the seams open in some spots, like this one here is being a butt. So I might, oh sorry, that's probably not proper to say, that's not polite. This one is not being very nice, it's being annoying, so I would probably want to think about pressing that one open. So I'm going to again press this one to the center. See, even when I'm not supposed to, I can't help myself. I have to scrub a little. When you first start working on these, I highly recommend, you know, you don't have to do anything I tell you, but I think it might be a good idea to make one block before you cut all of your yardage up and you cut miles and miles and you start sewing all of your blocks for your entire quilt. You sew up like 20 of them, only to realize every single one is not right. So this is what it looks like. Ta-da! Thank you. Better late than never. We've got a lot of those today, Allie. Thank you for popping in. So there you go. I think it looks really great, Scrappy. I did not do this right. I can see my seams are off, but you know what? I can't see anything. I see nothing. I see nothing. I see nothing. Put this down in the corner. Yeah, that's not bad. I have a little bit of a smidge here, and I'll show you where my problem is, and I'm totally going to ignore it. Because I think once you put this in a quilt and quilt it up, it's not going to be that noticeable. I could pull it off. If I were selling this, if I was making it for a customer that chose everything and picked it all out, I don't know, I might do it. If I made 2 blocks like this, I probably would. But I can see, this one doesn't bother me much, but this one, I don't know if it's because this is dark and this is light, so I can see it really well with my eye. And these two are both dark, so it's not noticeable. I don't know, but I think it's really pretty and I love it. So now let's go ahead. Yeah, you can't really see. And they say if you're on a galloping horse 30 feet away or something like that, once you start quilting things, it's not always going to be noticeable. So it does come down to what you're willing to put up with. So let me take a drink and a deep breath. Come over here so you don't have to listen to my straw and my slurping. Oh, you hear my straw anyway. All right, let's work on this brown one. We've got time. You've all seen how to do it. If anyone has to be anywhere or you've all had enough of me, you can go ahead and dip out. We're going to do the opposite now so that these purples are whites and the whites are brown. We shouldn't have to explain as much. We're just going to do it. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I think once you quilt it, oh yeah, definitely if you wash it and you get it all wrinkly with cotton batting and stuff, oh, then I got stretch on my back. You guys ever have to like just lean over and let your arm stretch it back a little? Oh, wait. Okay. So now I have this. So let's see, figure out what we're going to do here. We have purple ones over there, move them out of the way. I need to make half square triangles, so that's these. Got a thread or a hair or something on there. So those two. I do have a brown and a white square, so I could decide to do whatever I wanted, but then after I'd already cut out the white one, I happen to have snowflakes in here, and I don't mind mixing snowflakes with regular because as a white on white print, you really don't see it. There's my pen. See, when I'm working, when I'm done with this pen, I put it back in the container every time. And even though I'm going to use it again 3 blocks later, I put it away, so I always know where it is. So when I'm working with you guys, I just set it down to just keep going, and then I can never figure out where I put it down. All right. Oh, this has snowflakes too. Well, all 4 of these have snowflakes. 3 are the same, and 1 is not. My ruler's right here. Thank you, everybody. Now this one, I'm not going to make the bonus half square triangles on a block this small. I don't like them. I don't want to deal with those fussy little ones. You know, feel free to do it on yours if that's what you'd like. I do have a project in mind to use the cut off triangles that they're not going to be half square triangles. The seams are going to be too close together for me. It irritates me even if they're sewn or they're pressed open. So that's the thing you have to think of. You don't have to save everything. If you're not going to use it, don't keep it. But you can go ahead and give this to your daughter to play with, Haley, so she can have that bonus half square triangle. Even, you know, the bonus triangles that you're going to cut off because they won't be sewn together on mine at least. So she can have those. Huh. I set the ruler down and it landed right on its side. And that was cool. Okay, hold on 1 second. I've got to go get the Amazon package off the porch. Alrighty. I could never do, I've tried that bottle thing where you flip the bottle and it never works. You like a relaxed robin? I like a relaxed robin too. Alright, let me put this. Yes, we're not going to need that anymore, so put that away. We're going to put these right sides together. And I think, like, in my head I tell myself, I don't need pins. This is going to be fine. But the reality is, I need to put a pin in it. I really need to stop using these pins. I need to get some new ones because I don't really like these. I like that they're thin and they're supposed to be able to put, they're meant for quilting. They're thin and they're bendable and flexible so that when you see them, that one worked fine. Maybe I just need to sharpen them. When you put them in to hold your quilt blocks together, it's not supposed to take up any extra space because a thicker pin will cause problems. So I don't know. That's what those people that are in the know tell me. Right sides together. I have another package coming from Amazon. Yeah. I don't know if you guys order from Amazon a lot. Sometimes I'll order something from Amazon and I'll think, okay, I've ordered it, I'm good. And then like an hour later, I'm like, oh yeah, I was supposed to order this. And I should have ordered that. And I always forget. So I end up with having 3 packages, even when I have them all sent on my Amazon day. They never all come at the same day. that on there. Pin that up. So we're going to do some chain piecing. I don't want that white block. Put you out of the way. Bye, Marie. Have a great day. Enjoy your evening. We'll see you next time. You never know when I might just decide to go live or something, because you know, Monday's a special day in this house. Maybe I might want to hang out with somebody, spend a little time enjoying the company, or I might just decide to play with my scraps on my own. That's why I like them thinking these bonus videos. If they just show up whenever they show up, that way I can do it when I just feel like it and not feel like I have to be there on this day and that day. Like these are the days I have to have videos up on Wednesday and Friday. We go live on the Fridays on the 1st and 3rd. But Monday's my birthday, so maybe on Monday, yep, birthday girl. Maybe on Monday I might want to hang out. Well, maybe I don't. It all depends on how I feel on Monday. So that would be nice to have a little bonus day. No tutorials on those days, just kind of hanging out. I have this urge to make the handmade paper. I'm just a little concerned. I need to make the pulp ahead of time because that's using a blender and that's really loud and you guys don't want to hear that. So I thought if I had the coordination to make the paper ahead of time, then we can make some handmade paper together because that would be fun. Okay, so let's do the straight lines first since no machine's set up for 1/4 inch, so let's do the 1/4 inchers first. Told my daughter I was going to have a party for my birthday. She's like, no, you're not. I said, yeah, I'm going to invite a whole bunch of people. She's like, yeah, who? I said, I'm going to invite Sue and Jackie and Carla and Joan and Rose and Devi. She's like, you're going to go online, aren't you? I'm like, yeah, of course. She's like, you're not having all those people in the house. I'm like, no, I'm not. But I sure do love hanging out online. I don't have to clean my house. That's okay, Hallie. Before the live, I was thinking, I am such a goofy person. I brush my teeth before the live stream. You guys can't see me, and you definitely can't smell my breath. But before a Whip It Wednesday, I never brush my teeth. It's like you can see me then. I think it's mostly because at that point I've had breakfast and showered and brushed my teeth, so I haven't eaten anything. But like now, speaking of, I wanted to show you something. When we did the Advent series, I received some bottle cap candy. I received some for my birthday, and I wanted to show it to you because many of you were like, what's a bottle cap candy? Someone described it, I was watching another video on unboxing, a tasting of bottle caps, that it's kind of like a sweet tart, but it tastes like soda. So there's root beer, cherry, grape, cola, and orange. The orange is the new one. It used to be lime. These used to be as big as a 1/4. The one I got for Christmas came in a roll, and they weren't big as a 1/4, but they were probably nickel size. But these in the box, they're super tiny. See how small they are? The grape ones are almost rock hard, but these are a little bit softer and they're easy to chew. And I was talking to someone about these, and these taste different than the ones in the roll did. Now, I don't know if it's just like my taste buds are off or something right now. They don't burn my tongue, so they don't have that rough thing. The ones in the roll did, and those are like the really good ones. So these are pretty small, but I don't know, they're really good still. But that's what a bottle cap is. That's what they look like. They're just, someone else described them as compressed chalk that tasted like soda. Right, Terry? What is that? You put perfume on. I don't have the Wheel of Death or anything like that, Jackie, if that's what you're talking about. Oh, I wonder if I have enough. Let me plug my phone in. We almost had a dead phone battery once, and I freak out every time now. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come on. Got to drag the extension cord over a little. There we go. Okay, I'm plugging it in. Hopefully the world stays the same. We're good. I haven't seen those since we left Florida in 1973. I always ate them in the 80s. I know that much, like in high school and stuff. Sometimes we can find things like that at Dollar General. But I just thought it was really fun that I got them in my Advent, and then I got them for, same person, of course, sent them to me for my birthday, so it was really sweet. Thank you. Excuse me. Asthma issues today. Alright, 1/4 inch seams on my little strips. All of my browns are different. My whites are almost the same because they all snowflakes. Is anyone noticing that I put pins in these and then I pull the pins out? No, I figured you meant the bottle caps, right? Yeah. You don't have to clean to have real friends. That is true. That you're 100% true. You do not have to clean. If the people that come over are really your friends, they will ignore your mess. Now, the first time I come over, it's nice to have it semi-clean. I never want to have anything perfect unless you just happen to come over when I did a big deep cleaning, because I don't want you to expect it all the time. Our house, we've always had friends come over and they were always like, it's really comfortable. You come into my house and there's no stress. As soon as you walk in the door, you just go, oh, that's relaxing. It's there's no stress in Robin's house. People would say, like, people who didn't know us very well would say Rob and I fought all the time. Rob was the type of guy that he kept his emotions down, and the only way to figure out what he's got going on is to agitate him enough to where he would yell at you. And not like yell at you, but that's like, he have to get out that burst of angry energy, and then you can find out what's wrong. Because otherwise he never understood what was going on, what was in his own mind. He needed someone to analyze it for him. So while some people thought that we would have a very stressful house and that we fought all the time, it's like, no, twice a year, Rob would just have a fit and he'd scream and yell and stomp his feet like a little baby boy. And then I'd say, oh, let me tell you what's wrong with you. And he's like, you don't know what's wrong with me. And I tell him, he's like, oh, you do know. So after many, many years, he'd be like, what's wrong with me? And I'd be like, you're upset about this. He goes, oh, okay, that's right. And then he'd go about his business. So we didn't have to like do that whole arguing thing anymore. I grew up, when I lived with my father and stepmother, it was a very stressful house, and I just didn't want to have that for my kids or myself. So if you come over, my house is lived in. It's clean, but it's lived in. At this point in my life, there's not kids' toys everywhere. There's just cats' toys everywhere. The Bickersons. They used to be bigger. Yes, they were the size of a quarter. The ones in the roll had to be at least a nickel. These, I think, are smaller than a dime. I had to think, do I have any money? I don't know if I have it. I have coins, but I'd have to go and find them because I don't carry much cash or anything. But yeah, they're smaller now. Everything is smaller now. My Raisin Bran box used to be nice and thick, and now it's the narrowest thing. At least the price is still the same. All I know is whoever was supposed to learn a lesson should really learn it soon so we can get done with all of this pandemic stuff. So many of the people, now I already know how to make things from scratch. I made a lot of things from scratch. In the early marriage and stuff, we did have a lot of convenience food, but in the last half to 3/4 of our marriage, my kids' adult life, and growing up life, I should say, we ate a lot of fresh foods and things I made. So whoever needed to learn that lesson, would you learn how to make your own bread and pasta so that when I go to the store, I can start finding some on the shelves? Because I really think that that's sometimes what it comes down to, is that the universe is trying to teach us something. Cat fur. Rose, I've got the trick for you. It doesn't take care of everything, but here's what I do. Is I put something in my chair. I have like this domed cat bed that I put it in my recliner so the cats can go in the bed, but they're not on my chair. And my couch I cover with old t-shirts. So then when company comes by, I can just grab all the t-shirts off. My couch is cat fur free. You can sit down and relax and not have a problem. And then when you leave, I'll put new t-shirts down. The t-shirts are so much easier to clean than to try to get the fur off the couch all the time. That's my tip. That's my secret. I have a stack of t-shirts. The cats have their own laundry soap because they don't need the expensive laundry soap. And I do their laundry for them once or twice a week. Change out the shirts, and then I don't have to deal with cat fur everywhere. All right, before I do anything, I'm going to press these real quick when you guys aren't looking so I can trim these. And I have rooms, like the cats don't come, well, you know, they come up here. But when I'm like working and stuff, I try to keep the cats off of here and I keep everything wiped down. I start or end my day with wiping the table down. All of this is cleared up and nice and neat, so I have a nice clean area. And the cats just stay on the windowsill. They have quilts that they can lay on so that they're not, again, laying right on something. I have the opportunity to easily clean it up. Because I used to struggle with clean stuff all the time, and I just do the t-shirts. We did have a problem with flour for a little bit, but now it's there. And even Walmart hasn't even increased their prices. So I do line up the 1/4 inch right on this line because I don't do well with scissors because I get a spasm or I don't pay attention and I've cut the block the wrong way before. And I just like to have, I can't control a lot of things, but I can control this 1/4 inch seam allowance. Boom. This is the one I keep. These are my extra. So you could take it to the machine and sew another line, or you could draw the line like I did. But look how small this is. That stresses me out. As I said, there's too many seams, even when they're pressed to open. I just don't want to deal with it. But I save them. Close that or someone's going to yell at me. I have a bucket. You guys are going to laugh. I've never been this organized before, but someone sent me all of their triangle cutoffs, and I have all of my triangle cutoffs. Then I saved these, and I have a project for them. So if you happen to save these too, I've got a project coming up for you. I just need to have more time. So while you think I'm just, I mean, it's okay that you've got to decide what you can save. You can't save everything if you don't use everything. If you have a container of these like I do and it gives you stress because you don't know what you're going to do with it, it's taking up space, it's such a waste, put a basket in the middle seat. Yeah, so that they'll go, mine will lay in the basket versus laying there, yeah. I didn't see too much of a problem with yeast, but then again, I had enough yeast, and I always try to stay up ahead. I was buying loaves of bread at Aldi's, but then the bread is so thin, and when you make a sandwich, it's like, it was, to have it without milk and soybean oil, to get bread without soybean oil is near impossible, but Aldi's had this Fit and Active or something like that, and it didn't have any soybean in it, but the bread was a little bit smaller, which is great because I can't eat a big sandwich anyways, but it was so thin that it would really like to compress down to nothing. So that's great for a sandwich, but when I want toast or I want toast with my eggs, I don't want this little bit of nothing that just disintegrates when you try to dip it in the egg. So I like to make the homemade bread for having toast, or if I want to make garlic bread or something like that. So I haven't had to buy a lot of yeast, but the flour's always been there. So I have these. I'm going to put that in that basket. But if these bother you and you're not going to use them, either have them for, some people save them for the dog beds and stuff, give them to someone who could use them. If you know another crafter, maybe they'll want to trade a bunch of these for their 2.5 inch squares that they don't like to save or something like that. Or if you like to save them, and Eventually, I have a list. It's on my list. I don't know when we're going to do that video yet, but it's on my list. We will get to it. I only know what next week's video is. Okay. So I have all of these. Everybody needs to be, we pressed them all, right? Yes, no, maybe. Doesn't hurt to press them again. This is never going to hurt it. And if you're really kind of feeling messy and disorganized, what you can do is, thinking of the word basket and stuff, is you can have a little small basket or even a laundry basket that you put somewhere near you. So when you have these little extra bits or something, you can put it in there and then maybe sort it on another day when you have time. If your sewing time is limited to where you can only sew when the baby's sleeping or something, sew that, and then when the baby's awake, maybe you bring your basket out to the living room and sort it into piles on the dining room table or on the couch where the little baby can't get to it. So you're there while your toddler's coloring, but you're still sorting your scraps and you can get a little bit done. Yeah, Rose, it just makes so much, it makes it so much easier, doesn't it? So then if company does show up, then like when Robbie comes by to introduce me to a girlfriend or something, I can just go ahead and pull the t-shirts off so he doesn't have to, Robbie doesn't care, he's not embarrassed or anything like that, but that way he doesn't have to say my mom's weird, she puts shirts down on the couch for the cats, because now my daughter, she would just say the cats are more important than the kids, and I'd be like, yeah, the kids all moved out, the cats are still here. Of course I have to take care of the babies, they can't take care of themselves. You can also have 2 baskets or 2 small containers or cardboard boxes or whatever you happen to have. And one could be scraps for your crumbs if you're doing crumbs. And one could be larger pieces that you either need to put away or you want to cut into strips or squares to file away into your system. Because we don't all have time. I have time at the end of the day. If the cats have been sleeping a little bit later now, so I don't have to worry about them, or if they want to be fed, I can feed them and then come back in and clean up after myself. But I used to only be able to sew for like 15 minutes, and part of it was, hi Leslie. If you're just popping in now, Leslie, I want to let you know real quick, I'm going to be having surprise videos. Sometimes I might just go live, like maybe I'll go live on Monday for my birthday, and other times I might just pop up a random video. So I know you're subscribed, so you'll catch them all, but we're going to stick with our Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday on Patreon, but every now and then if I want to say something, or I want you to keep me company while I'm folding scraps or something like that, I might just go ahead and go live or put up a video. Just so you know what's happening. Oh, and if any of my patrons are watching, knock on wood, the video did the same thing again this week. Last week my Patreon video froze, like at the last minute, just when I was getting ready to upload everything, to finish everything and get it ready to go out to my patrons, it froze in YouTube and it got stuck just at that last second to where YouTube says, okay, you can go ahead and watch this video. It froze. This week's video did the same exact thing. I was so mad, but I planned for it. I had extra days, so we were good. So now I need to trim these up. When we're doing a 6.5 inch block finishes at 6 inches. So we need 2, 2, and 2. 2, 4, 6. Our center square is 2.5 inches. So I need to make sure all of these are 2.5 inches. And the same thing for these. So this time, everything's going to go here. And if you're wondering what the measurements are, let me find my cheat sheet. I lost it. Hello, cheat sheet. How are you? Okay. This block is 2.5 inches. I cut my beginning ones at 3 inches, and then I'm going to trim them down to 2.5. These are each cut at 1.5 this way and 2.5 this way. You can figure it out by the charts I put in this morning's video. They showed you how to make the long strip and they tell you how wide to cut it. You just have to figure out, instead of cutting it 20 inches, you're only going to need to cut it your size of your center square, 4.5 or 2.5. Yay, 8 flying geese are done. Did you do the 8 at a time? I don't know what my favorite way is. I don't think I like the one. I kind of do one at a time, I think. I don't know if I like the one where they do like 4 at a time or something out of the big square. Okay, so this needs to be 2.5 inches. I can't see very well, so let me bring this guy in. I'll lighten everything up there. A lot of times my ends tend to get a little wonky, so this helps to get rid of that. I really want to make sure I get both colors in the corner. And that's going to make such a big difference on how your block looks like when it's finished. Line it up. See, I always put that dark color so that it's whatever side it's folded to always goes up at the top. Just seems to sit better. I really do. It's another one I want to have an entire quilt of flying geese and triangles, pyramid type things. Really liking this churn dash. I used to love the pinwheel, but it frustrated me because I could never get my half square triangles right. Then all the seam allowances, so I really fell out of love with that. 2. Some people put these on like their AccuQuilt Go Cutter or their Sizzix or Cricut or whatever it's called. I couldn't do that. Trust that I lined it up properly to trim it and everything like that. That's not going to happen. Let me look up. Bye, Helly. Have a good night. Sleep well. Yeah, one at a time. So what? It takes me a while. But I think these extra videos is going to help too, because every now and then I'm like, oh, I just want to show you something really quick, and I don't have to put an entire tutorial and to go the whole spiel. Sometimes I just want to show you something real quick, like doing the. Come on, line it up. The 4 at a time half square triangles. I mean, you don't have to have a project to do it. Let's just make that really quick. Or let's look at, oh, what is it called? Hold on, I'm going to look at my chart real quick. I have it written down. La 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 la. You want to see? I have so many lists of videos everywhere. I have this. So I have this. Lace zippers, we're going to do that sometime. Prairie points. I want to do prairie points, and I just don't have a project to put the prairie points in. So I was like, can I just show them to you without having a project? And I thought, well, just having these little bonus videos would really work, because I don't have to have a project for it. I can just show you the video, quick little how-to, and you can decide where you're going to put them in projects. Building a stash instead. Okay, remember, I want all the whites on the inside. So this time, see how that's gonna. If you have black batting, you can use that too for these little boards. But see how you can have like a ghost churn dash versus having it the other way. I really like this version too. When you're doing an entire quilt, you can mix them up, like do every other. So you have, you know, you can have like opposites reverse. So maybe you have this one where it's the white and brown, and then somewhere else in the quilt you can have the brown and white. So you have a good variety. I just think it's fun. Bye, Leslie. Have a great evening. See you on Sunday. Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. See what happens? I get a little slap crazy at the end of the... Yes, Karen, we're still live. I decided to push through and stick around, and if we sit here for 2 hours, then we sit here for 2 hours. People can come and go as they like. I like the white on the inside. Yeah, I call that my little ghost block, but I really like it. Now, when we're working with smaller pieces like this, it's a little bit fiddlier. You got to really pay attention a little bit more. But the seams are shorter, so you're not sewing as much. Sometimes I prefer to... I don't like to have all of my seams pressed open, but maybe on this last round or something I might want to, especially with the smaller block. Because I found my 1/4 inch on my machine, and I know it's number 6.0 when I push the little buttons. Karen, is this your first live? I'm so happy you could join us. I trimmed my thumbnail, and I know the thumb, of course, as a human is a very popular tool and stuff, but I didn't realize how much I used my thumbnail until I trimmed it almost off. Well, we're so glad you made it. Now, I'm not much of a brown person, but I'm coming around to different fabrics and colors. They all have a place in the world. And just because I prefer the bright ones, it doesn't mean that I can't use these in some projects. Sometimes I will just press open the seams on the half square triangles, if nothing else, just because they always add that extra bulk right here in the corners. So now I'm going to do something crazy, and I'm going to do a webbing technique where I'm going to leave these here. I'm not going to cut these off at all. I'm sure you guys have seen, oh, I whistled, sorry. I'm sure you guys have seen this. I'm just going to open these up. I'm going to take this piece. Now these are all staying right in a row. Nothing's getting mixed up. I don't have to worry about anyone moving. So I will come back here, machine. Keep these in order. I'm going to sew this one first. You could pin them if you want, but I get stabbed so many times by pins, I don't like it. Yes, we have a couple crossovers from Mom and Pop that like to hang out here too, back and forth. Some from mine go over there, some from theirs come over here. It's really fun. I like bouncing from live to live and seeing names I recognize. It's also fun too to go to a live where I know the names because I've been going there for a while and hanging out with them, but they don't go watch other channels. Sometimes when I look at the comments, none of the names are here or at Mom and Pop or at Cakes and stuff like that. It's really fun. You get a new grouping of people and new things to talk about and stuff like that. I love brights, but it's good to work outside of your box too, especially if you're just working with scraps, and these are just random blocks that we're making to learn how to make blocks. Okay, now I'm still not going to cut anything and press anything. This is where it gets a little bit trickier, because now I open this up and I can finger press a little bit and I say, okay, let's see, these have to go in this way. These are gonna come out this way. It gets so quiet when the air turns off. I can hear it when I'm editing the videos and I'm like, oh, I don't know if you guys can hear it, but the air conditioner is so loud. So then I'm just gonna fold this over. Yeah, I've been watching Kate since like her 6th video and watching, you know, how she's grown and everything. It's been really fun. I do miss, you know, the time in the garden and stuff, but she's a very busy woman now. So I just nest my seams still, but I just move them where I need them to be and I make sure they're good and everything's still lined up. And I don't do this too often because it is a little hard to press in the end for me, especially a smaller block. And when I get to the seam on the other side of the seam line, I just let it sit there and I hold it and I go ahead and nest my next one. They're already held together by the thread still from chain piecing. Now, this takes a little bit of skill in my opinion. Because you have to make sure your seams are nested right, and you know, you might not come out with that perfect 6.5 inch block. So there is that part done. Bye, Rose. We're almost done. We're gonna press this and then say goodbye, and everybody will be going for the night. Yes, go outside before you get your PJs on. Finish up your chores. My PJs are generally a pair of basketball shorts and a t-shirt. So I'm safe to go out. Plus, again, you know, it was 85 again today, I think. So it's not cold out there. I made a bunch of burgers yesterday. I made 4 of them, so I don't have to actually cook dinner tonight. Karen, you have to go, it posted out of order, so you have to go into the playlist and you'll be able to find the last Advent. Because it popped up on like day 15 or something like that, or day 12, and then it made it out of order. Since it already went live and I pulled it back, then YouTube kept it at that date, so it didn't show up in numerical order. Lesson careful, that's when I was learning this new tool through TubeBuddy that I use to upload my videos and stuff. And I didn't check something and it popped up. It was supposed to be scheduled and it popped up live on me. Very frustrating. I feel so bad. I've had to say, I'm sorry, I apologize a lot, but it got mixed up. But that was the best thing with having the playlist, so everything is in the playlist so you can find it. So now I'm only going and pressing this once because everything is all here and sewn together. And it looks pretty good. And I can see my churn dash, so I didn't get anything mixed up. Although now it's not, you know, I can't like set my seams really. So I want to push this one this way, this one that way. Go there. This is really good if you're going to like press them all one way and then press them all the other. I like this for doing 9 patches. It works really good for 9 patches. Thank you. Thanks, Jackie. I got it. I really enjoyed it too, and I tried to come up with an idea that I could do quick little videos like that again, and I couldn't, but this was the closest thing I can come up to what I've been talking about, just kind of popping in here and there and surprising everyone. We are doing the Advent again. I don't want to go that way. Again, this year we are both getting things prepared. I have a few fun surprises, and I'm sure my friend does too. And I have a way that we can do it. I'm going to number all of hers. And then I haven't decided if I'm going to open mine on day 1 And on day 2, at the end, after I open mine, I'll have a recorded video and I'll show me wrapping up her day 1. So she'll have already opened it, and then I'll show you as I'm wrapping it. Or I might drag it all out and do all of mine and then all of hers. We'll talk about it more when it gets to that point, but I'm not really sure if we want to do it as a 2-month thing. That might be too long. Or maybe do my video at one time of the day and do her video at a different time. So you get 2 separate videos. So if you don't want to see what I sent her or whatever, it's probably going to end up being like that, 2 separate videos. There. It doesn't, I don't know, it just looks off to me for some reason. I think it's just because of the different colors. Then we have to test it and see. I have a feeling this one's not. Look at that. That's pretty darn good. There's a little bit of trimming actually, but I probably won't touch it and just leave it at that. So we have a 6.5 inch square where we have a ghost churn dash, and then we have the regular one. With just that small amount of time in the advent, I just didn't want to be the, look, here I got fabric. Okay, 45 seconds or a minute's gone by. Let's go ahead, we'll do the next video. I want to keep them like under 5 minutes, but I wanted to make them a little entertaining. And it took me a little bit to get the rhythm going. So what do y'all think? You like them? I like them. So remember, you can make 4 of this size, your 6.5 inch ones, and put them together and it will equal your 12 inch block. So I'm going to let everybody go now. You like the light in the bottom corner? Oh, this one you think it's giving it a little trick? Yeah. I think if you did all of the same shade, like if I, even the, well, the still purples are a little off, but if I use the same fabric like the froggy one, like this one would have worked really well to do the opposite. If I did the blue on the outside, switch them around. Because remember, the center square is what's going to determine what way your churn dash is going to look. Yeah, it's definitely the light ones that are throwing it off for me. So if you put a background fabric, or if you put a color fabric, it's just going to change the block. And I think it's great to maybe have a whole quilt. Let's say you have 25 blocks and maybe put like 3 or 4, 5 or 7, you know, odd numbers are good, just to mix it up a little. If you just put 1 in, it could probably be, ooh. After that little run, Sue, of a couple of trolls, and I think they were probably the same person on different accounts, Jackie got rid of them, and I think, you know, knock on wood, we've been pretty good since then. Now, the next block, I don't know if I've decided what the next block is, but I'm not going to tell you. It'll be a surprise. I don't know. Let me see where my book is. Here's my book. I also have a planner. I'm not really good at planners. I bought an expensive one last year and never used it, so I went and bought a Dollar Tree one, and it just makes me sad because it's not that fun. Yeah, so here's the plan I have for the videos in February. Totally blank page. There's nothing to it. Bye. I'm glad I could keep you company, and I'm glad you can keep us company. Oh, I think I'm just going to do the shoe fly, maybe. Let me see what the shoe fly looks like. It's pretty much this. I might just show you. So here's what the shoe fly looks like. And the shoe fly is just the same, but you don't have any of the bars there. So I don't think we need to make that, but I just wanted you to see that. So that was a fun option. But let me see what's in my little book. My little book says, We could do a friendship star. That's got half square triangles. And again, there's a bear paw. That's got a lot of half square triangles. I don't want to do a Dresden yet. We can do an orange peel, bow tie, hourglass, or tumblers, butterfly, the fan. I don't know. I'll just go on to Pinterest and just look around and see what catches my eye. Sorry, Sue. Bye. And then I'll come up with something. So if there's anything someone really, really wants to see, you can go ahead and leave a comment after this video goes live. But until then, thank you guys for hanging out with me. And I'll see my patrons on Sunday. And everyone else, I will catch you guys on a Whip It Wednesday. Bye. I just got to find a little... Oh, I like the way that looks like that. Yeah, see, sorry, I'm not leaving. I can really see these with the two different sizes, even with a 3.5 inch, and just mix them all together and have some of these and some of these. Like maybe make all of your 6.5 inch ones like this and make all your 12.5 inch like that. It would just be a really fun quilt. Bye.